Dr. Chris Labos, cardiologist with a degree in epidemiology and, of course, a regular contributor here on CJAD. And by the way, you can check him out weekends. He's on every Sunday on Weekends with Joanne Vrakas at 7:20 a.m. So, Dr. Labos, I thought we'd start off today with kind of two stories that tie into each other. Number one, with respect to Quebec, and I know this has been discussed before. We've actually talked about it, I think, too. The idea that some of these drugs like Wegovy and Ozempic and Mounjaro and all those might at some point be covered by the Quebec government, right? Now we're finding out Quebec says it will not reimburse, at least with respect to Wegovy specifically. I'm not sure about the others. So you're on your own. It says it fears that severe side effects will discourage too many patients and overwhelm emergency rooms. So let's deal with that first, this idea of not covering it. They also point out, let's be fair, that it would cost, I think the number was $1 billion or something, right, if they had to go ahead and cover this for everybody. So your reaction to that, was this the right thing to do?
No, I actually don't really understand their rationale for this. There's a couple of elements to their decision when you read the document. The first thing is they spend quite a bit of time trying to explain the statement that they don't see much cardiovascular benefit to these medications, which to me doesn't make sense. I've written entire articles about the cardiovascular benefit of these medications. Anybody who's interested can look up the stuff I've written. It's all online. But, if you want to make the argument that these medications are too expensive, that's one thing. And, you have to make that argument knowing that these medications are now off patent in Canada and there are going to be cheaper generics coming in the not too distant future. We don't know exactly when, but at some point this year, they will almost certainly be on the market and will bring down the cost. But if you want to make a cost effectiveness argument, that's one thing. But to claim that there's no cardiovascular benefit, that's simply not what the scientific evidence has shown. The reason why we talk about them, the reason why we prescribe them, and while we do recommend them in the guidelines is because there's a cardiovascular benefit. So I don't really agree with their argument. And, this whole thing that the emergency rooms are going to be overwhelmed with medications, that to me doesn't make sense either. There's a very clear protocol for how you start these medications. You start a low dose, you increase them, and you tell patients if you have bad symptoms, you stop the medications and the side effects will go away. So this idea that people are going to start overwhelming the emergency rooms, I think we need to give people a little bit more credit than that. You can explain to people how to start these medications and when to stop or when to reduce the dose. That is not a hard thing to manage.
With respect to that, that's the part I don't understand either, but flooding emergency rooms, if someone was to go on this medication and the government was paying for it, we know there are, of course, side effects, right? That's noted, but they don't seem to be severe. You might, nauseous or something like that. Well, where's the idea that they would be flooding emergency rooms based on what?
I have no idea. I literally have no idea. I think they were trying to sort of justify their decision in some way, and this is the argument they came up with. And it's worth pointing out, people are already taking these medications, right? We not routinely, but we prescribe it for diabetes fairly widely. There are people who are paying for this out of pocket because the cost, while expensive, is not prohibitive for many people. So some people can say, look, I can afford it. I'm going to pay for it. And, they seem to be fine. Yes, it's going to cost the government a lot of money because there are a lot of people who would qualify for these medications and just can't afford them yet. So, I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens a year from now when the price has dropped. Does the government suddenly, or INES to be more accurate, the agency that sort of evaluates these things, do they suddenly say, oh yeah, we're going to cover it now? So if it really is a price issue, fine. But at least be intellectually honest about the argument.
Well, you mentioned a moment ago about them coming off patent, if that's the right word. Once that happens, we also know the price is going to start to come down, which means more people will have access to that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, if more and more people are paying for it out of pocket, it's going to result in the same thing. It's just a question of whether you want it to be covered as part of the Quebec, medication plan. And there's another element to this, people have said, is well, should we really be doing this for purely aesthetic reasons? And I say, no, the argument to doing this is for a medical reason. This is a preventative therapy. And if you're going to try to make the argument that obesity is not a medical disease, you're going to have to explain to me why the government covers the cost of bariatric surgery, but doesn't want to cover the cost of medical therapy for medical weight loss.
All right, fair enough. Now, with respect to this next story, we should point out that, Wegovy, all these drugs, they are peptides, right? They're considered peptides?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's right in the name. That's what the P stands for. They are GLP-1 receptor antagonists. That's what the P stands for.
So beyond these particular, call them what you want, diabetic weight loss drugs, there's now an issue over peptides in general, which are becoming kind of popular online. ranging from all kinds of amazing cures, from weight loss to anti-aging to better skin. And there's now a warning from Health Canada saying, hey, you know what? If you're one of those people and you see these online all the time, be aware of what these things are, and there are some potential risks here.
Yeah, so here's the thing. If you haven't been following what's going on south of the border, that whole clique of, RFK Jr., Joe Rogan, all of these guys, they love peptides. And so the question becomes, what is a peptide? And unfortunately, a peptide is kind of whatever you want it to be at any given moment of time. A peptide, strictly speaking, is a string of amino acids, for anybody who remembers their high school biochemistry. But basically, a lot of stuff in your body is a peptide. The first peptide to ever come onto the medical market was insulin, because that's a peptide. Wegovy is a peptide. So a lot of the drugs that we use, a lot of the drugs that we use are peptides. That doesn't actually mean anything as a term because it's such a generic categorization. A lot of the stuff that's being sold, like BPC 157, are products that are essentially being made by compounded pharmacies. So essentially, these are private pharmacies in the U.S. that are making their own medication and selling it to people without it being studied. And when I say that these products I'm not saying that there isn't good quality evidence. I'm saying there is zero evidence. These things have never actually been studied in people. They are just being manufactured and sold. And they are able to do that in the U.S. because of a weird loophole where if you are a compounding pharmacy that makes your own medication rather than buying it from a medical supplier, you don't actually have to get FDA approval in the U.S. And so they are able to sell it to people by going around sort of the requirements for human testing. And so a lot of these products have no data in them. We don't know what effect they're going to have on the human body. Some of them are actually being shipped overseas from China, believe it or not, and we don't have quality control issues on this. So, if you are somebody that has bought into this whole argument about peptides, let me state unequivocally that there is zero evidence that they do anything and that you shouldn't be injecting yourself with unproven products. I find it a little bit interesting that the same group of people that were so opposed to vaccination and the COVID vaccines are perfectly okay with injecting themselves with untested products coming from overseas.
That's a really good point, right? At the end of the day as well, how much, as you said, how much do you actually know about what it is you're injecting into your body? Someone went online, posted this and said, hey, I injected this. Look at my skin. You mentioned, by a number, P whatever, 156. Yeah. How would you even know what it was for other than taking someone's word for it?
Well, that's what it is. It's become, there is a segment in the U.S. population that has become very enthusiastic about this. So if you speak to those people and you say, oh, yeah, BPC 157, they'll know exactly what you're talking about because there's so many blogs, there's so many sort of podcasts about it that they know, oh, yeah, this is the thing that you take if you have an injury to help healing. No evidence that that's the case. But this is the conversation that people are having. So a lot of these products that do not actually have names have become so part of the cultural zeitgeist that people know what you're talking about. It's sort of almost like a passcode of knowing, are you in the clique to know that, oh, I know about this because I'm hip, because I'm cool, because I'm plugged into the blogosphere.
Yeah. So the Health Canada statement is they've received complaints of adverse reactions, right? Yep. People with a variety, I guess, of reactions to this, including feeling ill or experiencing negative side effects. Someone who's decided to go ahead and do this, Dr. Labos, there's an issue of, can you buy what we would call regulated ones that you don't have to worry? You mentioned some are coming from China. Who knows what you're getting? Are there good and bad ones?
Well, here's the thing. There are good peptides. Insulin is a peptide. So if you need insulin, go to the pharmacy and get your insulin. The problem with a lot of these ones, they are illegal to sell in Canada. You are not supposed to be able to buy them in Canada. The problem with the internet is that it's impossible to police it, right? So these stuff are getting through borders. They're getting through customs. They're not supposed to, but they are because, let's be honest, this is not the highest priority thing that the border guards are looking for, right? They're looking for illegal drugs and weapons and explosives. If you choose to buy an unregulated medical product from an online pharmacy, buyer beware to a certain extent, I suppose. But this is the problem. They are illegal for sale in Canada. They are not allowed, but they are getting through because you just can't police the internet.
Okay. Let me ask one last dumb question, which is, let's say you're one of these people who has been, excited about what you've seen online. If you're buying a generic peptide, you mentioned the GPC 157 or whatever it is, do different peptides to supposedly do different things? How do you know what it is you're buying?
Well, that's the thing. Like, yeah, so they do. They have all kinds of names. They have some are for skin, some are for hair, some are for injury, some are to bulk up, and it's everybody has their favorite peptide, and that's the one that they hawk on their podcast show, whatever.
So basically, bottom line, as a medical professional, perhaps think twice.
Or think once, don't do it.
Don't do it.
They really have no redeeming medical value whatsoever.
All right. Dr. Chris Labos. Dr. Labos, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.